My parents sided with my unfaithful ex instead of me. At every family gathering after our divorce, they said she was like a daughter to them, and I needed to move on. So, I stopped showing up to anything. Can you believe there are parents out there who'd choose a cheating ex-wife over their own son, then turn around years later, begging to meet the grandkids they deliberately pushed away? Because that's my story, and trust me, it's a gut-wrenching tale of betrayal, heartbreaking family dynamics, and a dose of icy cold comeuppance that still gives me chills. So, buckle up, because this isn't just about a bad divorce. It's about what happens when the people who are supposed to love you most fundamentally fail you. I'm 32 now, but this nightmare started about 7 years ago, when I was 25 and about to marry the woman I thought was the love of my life. Now, before we dive into the mess, you need to understand my family. I was an only child, and you'd think that would mean I got all the attention, all the love, right? Wrong. My parents always wanted a daughter. They made that crystal clear my entire childhood. My mom would sigh about wishing she had someone to go shopping with or plan weddings with. My dad would joke that sons are fine, but daughters actually take care of you when you're old. It wasn't subtle. It definitely messed with my head. Every birthday, every Christmas, there was this unspoken undercurrent of disappointment that I wasn't the child they truly wanted. They fed me, clothed me, sent me to decent schools, all the practical stuff. But there was this constant emotional distance, this feeling that I was adequate but not ideal. Other kids had parents cheering at every game. Mine showed up to the important ones, then spent the rest of the time gushing about their friends' daughters. I played varsity baseball in high school, and my dad would show up to maybe a third of my games, half the time glued to his phone. I told myself it didn't matter, that I didn't need their attention. But it did matter. It always did. Then, at 22, I met Jessica. And my parents? They absolutely lost their minds. Not because I was happy or because she was a good person for me. No, they were thrilled because they finally had their daughter. From day one, they treated Jessica like she was their own, and I was just the guy who brought her into their lives. I met Jessica at a friend's house party. She was stunning, confident, funny, magnetic. We clicked instantly. She laughed at my jokes, made me feel like the most interesting person in the room. Looking back, that was her superpower. She was incredible at charming people. It's what made her so good in sales. Introducing her to my parents? First mistake. The second she walked through their door, it was a masterclass in charm. She complimented my mom's decorating, asked my dad about municipal accounting, and pretended to be fascinated. She even brought homemade cookies. My mom pulled me aside later, tears in her eyes. "She's perfect," she whispered. "Don't mess this up." No pressure. From that moment, Jessica was the center of their universe. My mom called her more than she called me. They'd make plans without me. I'd come home to find Jessica having dinner with them. "Oh, I thought you were working late," my mom would say, despite knowing my schedule. Jessica soaked it all up. My mom and her talked for hours about recipes. My dad taught her golf, just the two of them. I don't even golf. Family dinners became all about Jessica's incredible sales career, her travels, her opinions. I was basically a prop, occasionally asked to pass the salt. Jessica's own family was pretty fractured, so I understood why she latched onto mine. And at first, I thought it was great. No in-law drama, right? I was young, I was stupid, and I missed every single red flag flapping wildly in my face. She started making decisions about our relationship and telling my parents before telling me. She'd plan our weekends around them. When we argued, she'd call my mom, and they'd tag-team me until I caved. It was subtle, then it wasn't. One time, looking for an apartment, I found a great one near my work. She found one 20 minutes further from my job, but 15 minutes closer to my parents. Guess which one we got? My mom even helped convince me, "You can visit us more often." And Jessica's commute is longer. We got married 3 years later. A huge wedding, over 200 people. My parents paid for most of it, but made sure everyone knew Jessica planned every detail. Which was true. I wanted a small beach ceremony. Jessica wanted the full fairy tale. Pinterest boards, bridal magazines, 17 venues before picking the first one she saw. The engagement became a production, more about the event than the marriage. Every weekend was planning. My input was basically nodding and agreeing. If I suggested something different, they'd share a look, like I was being difficult. I wanted my friend to DJ. Jessica and my mom insisted on an $8,000 band. When I protested, my dad pulled me aside. "Son," he said, "this is her day. Just let her have what she wants." Not, "our day." Her day. I suggested a casual buffet to save money. Jessica wanted formal sit-down. My mom, "We're only doing this once. We should do it right." Implying my vision was wrong. The guest list was another battle I lost. I wanted under 100. Jessica's list alone was 150. She invited coworkers she barely knew, distant relatives, high school friends. My mom said, "Weddings are about bringing people together. You're being antisocial." My parents held their financial contribution over my head constantly. "We're footing most of the bill," my dad would say whenever I pushed back. They wanted the big wedding. I would have been happy at a courthouse. Guess which one we had? My sole contribution was showing up, choosing my groomsmen, and picking the officiant. Everything else, colors, flowers, menu, seating, timeline, was handled by Jessica and my mom. The night before the wedding, at the rehearsal dinner, my parents gave a toast. 90% was about how wonderful Jessica was, 10% about how lucky I was to have found her. My dad actually said, "We always wanted a daughter, and now we finally have one." Everyone laughed. I smiled, nodded. But it was a gut punch. A reminder I'd never been quite enough. The wedding day itself was beautiful. Perfect weather, elegant venue, 200+ people. Jessica looked stunning, genuinely happy. I was happy too in the moment. But looking at the photos now, I see it, that underlying uncertainty in my face, like I was a supporting character in my own story. My mom cried during the ceremony. She told everyone it was out of happiness. I think it was because she finally got to live out the wedding she'd always dreamed of for a daughter she never had. The whole day felt less like a celebration of us as a couple and more like a celebration of Jessica joining my family. Speech after speech mentioned how lucky my family was to have her. Nobody talked about us as a team. I brushed it off. Told myself I was oversensitive. That's what you do when your whole life you've been told you're not quite what was wanted. You ignore your gut. You rationalize away the red flags. The first couple years of marriage were fine on the surface. We had issues, sure, but nothing catastrophic. Money, chores, holidays, normal friction. But the foundation was already cracked. Jessica traveled constantly for work, pharmaceutical conferences, client meetings, sometimes gone for a week. She was brilliant at her job, and the money was good. She'd come back with stories of fancy dinners and networking events. I was an insurance adjuster. Steady hours, decent pay, home every night. Not glamorous, but I liked the investigative side, separating fact from fiction. And the work-life balance was great. Apparently, not impressive enough. My parents loved telling people about Jessica's career. At family gatherings, it was always, "Jessica just got back from Denver," or "Jessica's the top sales rep." They'd gush about her accomplishments. When people asked what I did, my dad would dismissively say, "Oh, he's in stuff," then immediately pivot back to Jessica. My mom would actually apologize for my job. "Oh, he's an insurance adjuster," she'd say with an embarrassed little laugh, then quickly add, "But Jessica has a really exciting career." Like my boring job needed her impressive one to compensate. I started noticing the difference in how they listened. Jessica's work stories? They hung on every word, asked follow-up questions, filled with pride. My work stories? Distracted nods, subject changed within minutes. I stopped sharing. Why bother? The cracks in our marriage became chasms around year 3. Jessica grew distant. Not just busy distant, but gone. Always on her phone, texting at dinner, taking calls outside she claimed were work. Tired, irritable, snapping at me. When she was home, she was physically there but mentally checked out. I'd try to talk, she'd scroll Instagram. I'd suggest a movie, she had emails. Intimacy? She was too exhausted from travel. Our conversations became purely logistical: bills, dinner, dry cleaning. We stopped being partners. We became roommates. I tried talking to her. Asked if something was wrong. If she was unhappy. She'd say she was just stressed, that I was being needy, that I didn't understand the pressure she was under. The thing is, I was supportive. I handled everything at home when she traveled. I encouraged her career. So, being called needy for wanting my wife to remember I existed? That stung. I'm not stupid. I knew something was off. The late-night calls, the secretive texts, the increased travel, the emotional distance, the lack of intimacy. But I trusted her. More fool me. I thought it was just work stress, a rough patch. That optimistic nonsense people tell themselves when they don't want to face the truth. I even tried to fix it. Planned a surprise weekend getaway. She canceled for a work emergency. Cooked her favorite meals. She'd take 3 bites. Bought her gifts. She'd thank me absently. My friends noticed I was different. Asked if everything was okay. I brushed it off. Marriages have ups and downs, I'd say. We'll figure it out. I was lying to myself as much as to them. Then came the night that changed everything. Jessica was supposed to be at a 3-day conference in Chicago, back Saturday morning. Friday night, around 11 p.m., I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. It was a woman named Linda. She introduced herself as the wife of Jessica's coworker, Brian. She was calling because she'd found text messages on Brian's phone, messages I needed to see. She was crying, apologizing, but said she'd want to know. My stomach dropped to my feet. Linda sent me screenshots. Messages between Brian and Jessica, going back almost 8 months. And these weren't friendly coworker chats. These were explicit, detailed messages about their affair. Plans to meet at conferences. Complaints about their boring spouses. Fantasies about being together full-time. It was brutal. I sat on our couch until 4 a.m., staring at my phone. Part of me wanted to believe it was fake, some elaborate joke. But deep down, I knew. The late nights, the distance, the irritability, the exhaustion, it all made horrifying sense now. Jessica walked in Saturday morning, all smiles. "How was your week, honey?" I just held out my phone. She saw the messages, and the color drained from her face. She tried to deny it, then said it wasn't what it looked like, then finally admitted everything, begging me to forgive her, promising it was over. I told her to pack a bag. Get out. She started crying, saying she'd made a mistake, that she loved me, we could work through it. I just kept repeating leave. She finally did, going to her parents. I called a lawyer that Monday. Here's where it gets truly twisted. I didn't tell my parents the details at first. Just that Jessica and I were divorcing, and I didn't want to discuss it. My mom immediately called Jessica. Jessica, of course, painted herself as the victim. We grew apart. I was unwilling to work on things. My parents bought it. Completely. They started calling me, telling me I was making a huge mistake, that every marriage has rough patches, that I needed to be more mature. My dad actually said, "You're throwing away the best thing that ever happened to you, all over pride." I told them. She cheated on me. I saw the messages. You know what my mother said? "Well, you must have done something to push her to that. People don't just cheat for no reason." My dad blamed me too. Said I probably wasn't paying enough attention to her with her demanding career. That I needed to examine my role in the breakdown of the marriage. I'm not kidding. My own parents blamed me for my wife having an 8-month affair. They made excuses for her. Everyone makes mistakes. My mom actually said, "Jessica is like a daughter to me, and I know her heart is good." The divorce took about 4 months. Jessica fought me on everything through her lawyer, trying to get more money, claiming she deserved half, despite being married 3 years and earning more than me. My lawyer was fantastic, and we got a clean split. No kids, no house, just dividing savings. During those 4 months, my parents were in constant contact with Jessica. They'd have her over for dinner. My mom took her shopping. My dad invited her to his golf club. And they'd tell me about it. Jessica was over Sunday, she's doing so well. Or, Jessica joined us at the club. Everyone asked about her. Like they were rubbing it in. I told them it was inappropriate. Hurtful. that they were maintaining a relationship with someone who cheated on me and destroyed my marriage. My mom's response? Just because you two couldn't make it work doesn't mean we have to lose our relationship with her. She's been part of our family for 6 years. 6 years. I had been their son for 25 years. And they were choosing my cheating ex-wife over me because they'd known her for 6 years. The final divorce papers were signed on my dad's birthday. I texted them the news. My mom's response, "That's too bad. We were hoping you'd reconsider." That year was rough. I threw myself into work, hung out with friends, hit the gym, tried to rebuild. My parents called occasionally, always bringing up Jessica. How she got a promotion. How she was doing great. How she asked about me. It was like they were trying to make me jealous. I started declining family invitations. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, I made excuses. And every time I skipped, I'd hear through extended family that Jessica had been there. My aunt let it slip she was at Thanksgiving. My cousin saw her at Christmas. My parents were literally replacing me with my ex-wife at family functions. After Easter, I confronted them. Point blank, why did they keep inviting her? My dad said, "She doesn't have much family of her own, and we're not going to abandon her just because you can't handle being around her." My mom added, "We think if you two spent time together, you might realize you still have feelings for each other." They were trying to get us back together. Over a year after she cheated on me. They thought if they just kept us in proximity, I'd forgive her. Like I was the unreasonable one for not wanting to be married to an adulterer. I told them I was done. That I wasn't coming to any more family events as long as Jessica was invited. That they needed to choose. My mother actually laughed. "You're being ridiculous and controlling. We can have relationships with whoever we want." So, I chose for them. I stopped answering their calls. Stopped responding to texts except for one-word answers. Stopped visiting. Stopped engaging at all. If they wanted Jessica as their daughter so badly, they could have her. I was out. For about 2 years, we were basically estranged. They'd reach out on my birthday, holidays. I'd send a brief thanks. That was it. They never apologized. Never acknowledged how messed up their behavior was. Just kept acting like I was being petty. During this time, I met Rachel. She was a nurse at a hospital where I was doing some insurance work. We started talking, and she was just different. Genuine, funny, no games. We took it slow. We'd both been burned. After 6 months, I knew she was the one. I didn't tell my parents about Rachel for the first year. What was the point? They'd made their priorities clear. Rachel knew my family situation and was incredibly supportive. She never pushed me to reconcile. Rachel and I got married at a courthouse, just close friends. No big wedding, no drama, no parents. It was perfect, simple. Exactly what I wanted the first time. We had a small dinner afterward. My parents found out I got married through Facebook. One of my friends posted photos and tagged me. My mom called, crying. "How could you get married without telling us? How could you exclude us?" I told her she'd made her choice when she chose Jessica. She tried to guilt-trip me about regretting excluding them. I asked if Jessica had been at their last family gathering. She went quiet, then admitted, yes, Jessica had been at the July 4th barbecue. I hung up. About 8 months after we married, Rachel got pregnant. We were thrilled. She had an easy pregnancy and gave birth to our daughter, Sophie. Beautiful, healthy. The hospital staff asked about grandparents. I just said both sets lived far away. Easier than the truth. When Sophie was about 3 months old, I posted a single photo on Facebook, me holding her. Just wanted to share that perfect moment with friends who had been supportive. Within an hour, my mom was calling. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail, crying about having a granddaughter she'd never met, how unfair I was being. My dad sent a long text about how they'd made mistakes, but family was family, and their granddaughter deserved to know them. I didn't respond. They sent cards with money for Sophie. I donated the money to charity. Threw away the cards. Here's the thing, and I want to be crystal clear, I wasn't keeping Sophie from them out of spite. I was protecting my daughter from people who had shown me exactly who they were. These were people who blamed me for being cheated on, who maintained a relationship with the person who betrayed me, who chose a woman they'd known for 6 years over their own son. Why would I want those people influencing my child? 2 years after Sophie, Rachel and I had twin boys, Jack and Noah. My parents found out through the same Facebook grapevine. More crying voicemails, more guilt trips. My mom sent an email, heartbroken that she had 3 grandchildren she'd never met, calling me cruel. I finally responded to that email. I wrote everything. How they blamed me for Jessica's affair. How they maintained a relationship with her for years. How they kept inviting her to family events, telling me to get over it. How they never once apologized or acknowledged the pain they caused. How they chose her over me repeatedly. And how I was not exposing my children to people who treated their father that way. My dad responded, "It's in the past. You need to move on." He added that they'd stopped seeing Jessica over a year ago, so everything was fine now. Like the issue was just their contact with her, not the fundamental betrayal of how they treated me. I didn't respond to that. What was the point? They didn't get it. They never would. Fast forward to now. Sophie is 5, the twins are 3. We live about 2 hours from my parents. Close enough to visit if we had a relationship, far enough we don't accidentally run into them. Rachel's parents are amazing grandparents, filling that role beautifully. My kids don't know my parents exist, and they're not missing a thing. My parents have ramped up their attempts to contact me over the past 6 months. Calls, texts, emails, letters. They want to meet their grandchildren. They say they're getting older, running out of time. My mom sent a letter saying she's had health scares, wants to make amends. My dad sent money for the kids' college funds with a note about wanting to be involved. I keep saying I'll call them back. I tell Rachel I need to think about it. I save their voicemails, meaning to listen later. Their letters go into a drawer. I keep forgetting. Must be getting forgetful in my old age. The guilt trips have evolved. They've started reaching out to my friends on Facebook, asking them to tell me how important family is. My aunt calls me every few weeks, saying my parents are heartbroken, I'm being too harsh. My cousin sent a long message about forgiveness, how everyone makes mistakes. What these people don't understand is that I did forgive my parents. I forgave them for myself so I could move on and build a happy life. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It doesn't mean giving them access to my family. It doesn't mean pretending their choices didn't reveal their true character. My mom's latest voicemail said she ran into Jessica at the grocery store. Jessica asked about me, said she hoped I was doing well, seemed genuinely happy for me. My mom told me this like it was supposed to make me want to reach out. Like learning my ex-wife, who destroyed my first marriage, is doing fine, was the push I needed to reconnect with my parents. I saved that voicemail, but I haven't listened to it again. It's in the folder with all the others I keep meaning to get back to. Rachel asks sometimes if I'll regret not letting the kids know my parents. I tell her the truth, maybe. But I know for certain I'd regret exposing my children to people who would blame them if someone hurt them. Who would side with the person who hurt them because they had a better relationship with that person? Who would choose appearances and their own comfort over their own child's well-being? My parents taught me an important lesson. People will show you who they are if you pay attention. They showed me I was disposable to them. That their idea of a daughter was more important than their actual son. That maintaining a comfortable social dynamic was more valuable than loyalty to family. So yeah, they want to meet their grandchildren. They want to be part of our lives. They send gifts and cards and money. They leave tearful voicemails. They tell relatives to pressure me into forgiveness. And I keep forgetting to call them back. Sophie asked me recently if she has grandparents on my side. I told her the truth, in a way a 5-year-old can understand. I have parents, but we don't talk to them because they weren't very kind to Daddy when he needed them. She accepted this with the easy logic of childhood, then asked if we could have ice cream instead. We did. My parents don't know about Sophie's love of drawing. They don't know the twins are obsessed with dinosaurs. They don't know Rachel and I are thinking about having one more kid. They don't know we bought a bigger house last year. They don't know Jack needs glasses or that Noah is already reading at a first-grade level. They don't know Sophie wants to be a veterinarian. They know none of these things. Because they made their choice 7 years ago, and I made mine in response. The difference is, I can sleep fine with my decision. Last week, my dad sent an email with photos of him and my mom. They've aged. My mom's hair is completely gray, My dad has lost weight. The email said, "We're not getting any younger and life is short," with a request to at least talk on the phone. I read the email, looked at the photos, and saved it to the folder with all their other messages. I'll probably respond eventually. Maybe when I get around to it. If I remember. The thing is, I think about what I'd tell my kids if they were in my situation. If someone they loved betrayed them, and then other people they loved took the betrayer's side, blamed them, maintained relationships with the person who hurt them, told them to get over it and stop being difficult. I'd tell them they don't owe those people anything. That blood doesn't entitle anyone to your life or your children. That forgiveness doesn't require relationship restoration. That sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is walk away from toxic people, even if they're family. I'd tell them exactly what I tell myself. You protected yourself. You built a beautiful life without them. You don't owe them access to that life just because they've decided they want it now. My parents had every opportunity to be part of my life. They chose Jessica instead. Multiple times for years. They didn't choose me when it mattered. They don't get to demand I choose them now that it's convenient for them. Rachel and I were talking about it last night after the kids went to bed. She asked if I thought my parents understood why I cut contact. I told her honestly, I don't think they do. They probably see themselves as victims of my stubbornness. They probably tell people their son won't let them meet their grandchildren over some old disagreement. They probably paint me as the unreasonable one holding a grudge. And you know what? I'm fine with that. Let them think I'm holding a grudge. Let them be the victims in their story. I know the truth, and so do the people who actually matter in my life. My kids are happy. Rachel and I have a strong marriage built on mutual respect and loyalty. We have good friends and a nice life. We don't have drama or people who make us feel small or unsupported. We have peace. That's worth more than playing happy families with people who showed me I couldn't count on them when everything fell apart. So, my parents keep calling. They keep emailing. They keep sending letters and gifts and money. They keep having relatives reach out on their behalf. They keep leaving voicemails about how much time they're wasting, how they just want a chance. And I keep meaning to call them back. I really do. It's on my to-do list. Right under reorganizing the garage and learning to play guitar. Important stuff that I'll definitely get to eventually. Any day now. I'm sure I'll remember soon. The irony isn't lost on me that they spent years telling me to get over what Jessica did, to forgive and move on, to not hold grudges. And now they can't understand why I can't just get over what they did. Why I can't forgive and move on from them choosing her over me repeatedly. I followed their advice, though. I did get over it. I did move on. I built a whole new life without any of them in it. I'm just not sure that's the outcome they were hoping for when they gave me that advice. My mom sent a text yesterday asking if we could at least video chat so she could see the kids. I read it while Sophie was showing me her latest drawing of our family. Me, Rachel, her, and her brothers all holding hands under a rainbow. It was beautiful, simple, complete. I showed Rachel the text. She squeezed my hand and said whatever I decided, she supported me. I looked at that drawing again. Looked at my daughter's proud smile. Thought about my boys in the next room building a block tower together. This is my family. The one I built. The one I protected by making hard choices. The one that exists because I decided my kids deserved better than what I had growing up. I put my phone down without responding. I'll get back to her eventually. When I have time. When the kids are older. Maybe when I'm ready. Or maybe I won't. What would you have done in my shoes? Have you ever had to cut ties with family who just couldn't see how they hurt you? Tell me what you think in the comments below. I really want to know.